The year gold became illegal, how America confiscated its own wealth. 1. The day wealth turned criminal. Imagine waking up and finding out your family's gold coins, your life savings, have just become contraband. That's what happened in 1933. Overnight, it was illegal for Americans to own gold coins, bars, or even certificates. Hold on to it past the deadline, and you faced a $10,000 fine, worth hundreds of thousands today, or 10 years in prison. This wasn't the work of thieves or swindlers. It was the U.S. government. President Franklin D. Roosevelt's Executive Order 6102 made one of the oldest stores of wealth in history a federal crime. Citizens had to surrender gold to the Federal Reserve in exchange for paper dollars. They lined up at banks to hand over heirlooms and coins that had passed through generations. So what does that actually mean? It means ownership, the essence of wealth, was rewritten overnight. Footnote: when trust collapses, even your savings can be declared illegal. 2. The Great Depression's money panic. By 1933, America was broken. 1 in 4 workers was unemployed. Banks were collapsing by the thousands. And people no longer trusted paper money. Under the gold standard, every US dollar could, in theory, be traded for gold at $20.67 per ounce. But as panic spread, citizens rushed to withdraw physical gold, draining the bank's reserves and threatening total collapse. Enter Roosevelt, new president, old problem. He didn't just inherit an economic crisis, he inherited a confidence crisis. He needed something radical to restore faith, and fast. On April 5, 1933, less than a month after taking office, he signed Executive Order 6102. Americans were given until April 28 to turn in their gold or face punishment. In return, they'd get paper money. The official explanation was patriotic: stabilize the banks, stop hoarding, restore the system. But beneath that was a quieter motive: control. Footnote: the government didn't ban gold to protect you. It did it to protect itself. 3. The legalized heist. Then came the sting. In January 1934, Congress passed the Gold Reserve Act, instantly raising the price of gold from $20.67 to $35 per ounce. Translation: every ounce of gold the public had just turned in was suddenly worth 40% more, but only for the government that now owned it. It was one of the largest forced wealth transfers in U.S. history. Families lost, Washington gained. Overnight, the dollar was devalued, and the government's gold holdings ballooned in value. Citizens were left holding paper that bought less than it had the week before. So what does that actually mean? It means inflation wasn't an accident, it was a policy. Footnote: when a government controls the value of money, it controls the value of everything. 4. From gold standard to faith standard. The confiscation wasn't just about saving banks. It was about breaking gold's power. For centuries, gold had anchored money. Now, paper dollars ruled, backed not by metal, but by decree. The full faith and credit of the U.S. government replaced the solidity of gold. Banks rejoiced. Their vaults were full again, this time with gold owned by the Federal Reserve. The government could inflate the money supply, fund the New Deal, and spend without restraint. It was the birth of modern fiat money, the promise-based system we still use today. Meanwhile, ordinary Americans learned a harder truth: wealth wasn't about ownership anymore. It was about permission. Footnote: gold lost its throne. Government became the new standard. 5. The courts and the coup. Of course, Americans fought back. Many contracts at the time had gold clauses, meaning debts had to be repaid in gold to protect against inflation. When Roosevelt voided those agreements, creditors sued, arguing the government had violated private contracts and property rights. In 1935, the Supreme Court barely sided with Roosevelt, by a single vote. The decision effectively told citizens that in times of crisis, the Constitution bends to survival. One justice warned it set a dangerous precedent. He was right. The ruling confirmed what Roosevelt's executive order had already proved: the government could rewrite the rules of money whenever it needed to. Footnote: the court didn't just approve the seizure of gold, it approved the seizure of trust. 6. Winners, losers, and loopholes. So who came out ahead? The government made billions by revaluing gold. The banks regained solvency with federally controlled reserves. The elite found loopholes, moving gold abroad or disguising it as jewelry. And the losers? Ordinary Americans. People who had saved responsibly, believing gold was safety itself. They traded real wealth for paper that was instantly worth less. They were told it was for the good of the nation. So what does that actually mean? It means when stability and liberty collide, liberty usually loses. Footnote: for the greater good often means for someone else's gain. 7. The pattern repeats. Fast forward. The tools have changed, but the principle hasn't. When systems break, governments move the goalposts. In 1933, it was gold. In 2008, it was bank bailouts. In 2013, Cyprus imposed bail-ins, seizing depositors' money directly. In 2020, massive money printing inflated assets while wages stagnated. No one knocks on your door anymore. Instead, inflation does the confiscating silently. Your savings buy less each year. Your paycheck shrinks in real terms. And the wealth, once again, flows upward. Footnote: the new confiscation doesn't use vaults or guards. It uses policies and percentages. 8. The real lesson of 1933. The gold ban taught one timeless truth: wealth isn't safe in systems built on trust. The rules of money aren't natural laws, they're decisions of power. And power changes the rules when threatened. If gold could be outlawed once, digital assets can be frozen tomorrow. Pensions can be taxed, deposits can be insured until they're not. Financial independence isn't about chasing yield, it's about understanding history. So what does that actually mean? It means learning before earning, because those who know the pattern never play blind. Footnote: the past isn't history. It's a warning label.